last week here, and there are a lot of homework assignments due on Wednesday night. The last 6 assignments are due. I know that's a lot of assignments. I apologize last time, and I got a little pushback last time, but it is what it is. And let me just also clarify that there are so many questions because it's potentially some of the easiest homework in the semester, I think. Like, you know, what's the slope of a line, or, you know, what's the y-intercept and things like that. So the questions kind of come pretty quickly, and there's lots of different flavors of them, which is why there's so many. So anyway, as a quick reminder, I tried to reduce the number that you had to do by marking some of them correct. So you could still like practice on some of them, but if you notice, some of them are pre-marked correct ahead of time. And so you can feel free to skip those ones if you want. Or if you need more practice on one of the topics, maybe you should work on those extra ones. Okay, so here we are in the schedule. Today, you're supposed to watch polynomial and their graphs video. Tomorrow, the video is rational functions. We're going to skip dividing polynomials. And that's the last material. So our final exam is going to be next Tuesday. So next Tuesday, 5/12, during class, we're going to have our final. You can use a 8 by 11, is that how big? 8.5 by 11, a normal piece of paper. You can use a normal size piece of paper up with notes. So as you're preparing to study, you should be kind of creating that document as you go. I've created lots and lots of practice problems and topics and all kinds of stuff on Blackboard. Okay, so as a quick reminder, my goal here is to finish material tomorrow so that you have an entire week to study for the final. And yes, you have to do some homework on Wednesday night, but I'm trying to my best to give you as much time and help as possible, let you bring in notes. I mean, the way the schedule usually works is classes end and exams begin the next day. So we definitely are building in more of a buffer than that. And I'm happy to stick around. We can meet Thursday and Monday and just talk about review. You can just ask me any questions you want from the entire class. Okay, so I did get a couple homework questions. Are there any questions about what I just said at all? I'm happy to clarify anything there that you want to talk about related to the end of the semester first. Anything there? Okay. So here are a couple questions I had from the homework. So folks are working on these linear equations. There are 3 different linear equation sections, not because I'm trying to torture you, because there's lots of different ways to talk about linear equations, and I just broke them down into sections. And so there's 4 or 5 in each section. And if you kind of understand what slope and things in, they go kind of quick. And if you need work on that, well, that's why they're here. So on this first question, this is linear number 2. So there are 3 of them, right? This is the second linear homework set, problem number 7. And you're given 2 lines, a blue one and a red one, and you're asked for the slope of both and the y-intercept, right? And so when you do slope, you just count rise over run, which you can think of as change in y value over the change in x value.
Hey, that's sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. What's up?
Can you focus your camera? It looks blurry.
I think that's as focused as it gets. I agree that this one printed out, I think because I blew it up a little bit, the words themselves are a little bit blurry than they used to be. But it is focused. Like my handwriting should be somewhat focused.
Oh, okay. I could work with that.
Okay, so that's what we're doing for slope. We want to count rise over run. And then the y-intercept is just where it crosses the y-axis. So we can easily kind of look at these things and count them off. It's helpful to find a place where it crosses. I don't know if you can see the grid, but there's like a grid on this XY axis, and it's helpful to find a place where it crosses a corner. And so it crosses a corner right here, it crosses a corner right here, it crosses a corner right there. So we might want to use some of those and not one of these intermediate ones that it kind of looks like maybe it goes through halfway, but you're not really sure, right? So it's good to use a corner one. So I'm going to use this point right here. Let me get a different color. I'm going to use this one and this one, and I'm going to count the rise over run. So rise is how much it goes up, and then run is how much it goes over, right? And then up is positive, down would be negative, right is positive, left is negative. So in this particular one, in the blue line, the rise is 1, 2, 3, so up 3, and then the run is over 2. And so the slope of the blue one would be 3/2 because it goes up 3 over 2. And the first dot we used was the y-intercept, actually, right? So that's right where across the y-axis. And so the y-intercept of that one is 0, 3. Ooh, the second one's kind of tricky. So that line is a little bit messed up. I wonder if I can zoom in on that on my screen. I didn't really notice that when I printed it out. And maybe this is why this question was asked, because the red line is kind of funky, huh? Well, maybe sometimes when you click on the graph, it becomes larger. Let me just double check that. I'm opening it on my computer. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but it does cross a corner right here, and then this is a corner right here. So this one got randomly generated, kind of tough, but we can still do that. So this is a rise. So the rise here is going to be down 1, 2, 3. So it's -3, and then the run is over 1 plus 1. So with the red slope, the rise is -3 because it went down 3, and then the run is 1, so it's -3. And then that first dot was the y-intercept. The y-intercept was 0, 1. Thoughts about that one at all? Either by the person who asked it or anyone else has a question about slope, or this is a very common question, like giving a picture and asking for the slope or the y-intercept, or heck, usually what I'll do on a test is I'll give a slope and I'll ask you to write the equation, because you need to find the slope and the y-intercept to write the equation. So we can now that we have both those things, we could write the equation of either one of those lines. Other questions about how to do that at all? Or any questions about this one? Okay. On the second one, we're being given a line. So the line is y equals -3x. Let me rewrite it to a little bit bigger. And we want to know the line that's parallel to it and perpendicular to it. So this -3 is the slope of this line. And so if we want a parallel slope, we use the same slope. And so you'd use -3 there. Right? Two lines are parallel, they have the same slope. And that should make sense, right? If here's a picture of a graph. These two lines would be parallel to each other. They're never going to cross, and they're never going to cross because they have the exact same slope. Perpendicular looks different, though, right? So perpendicular is when two lines cross and make a right angle. So if those were two different lines, they'd be perpendicular because they make a right angle when they cross. And so that's different. If you want to find the perpendicular slope, you use you use the negative reciprocal of the other one. So if you want a perpendicular line, so perpendicular to -3 is minus -1/3. So you flip 3/1 upside down and make it 1/3, and you make it negative. And so that would be plus 1/3. So 1/3 is the slope that's perpendicular. Again, you flip the fraction and you make it negative. You flip the sign. I oftentimes do that. This is like a pretty good I think these two problems are a good representation of the type of questions I might ask on a test. In the homework, there's all kinds of stuff that come at you. You know, on a test, I want to see that you know the basics. I want to see that you can write the equation of a line, you know things about what slope and intercept are, and you know what perpendicular and parallel are. I won't ask complicated ones like, you know, write the equation of a line that's parallel to this one that goes through this point or something. I don't really get into problems like that on tests because those are a little bit time consuming. I try to stick to, do you know the basics? And again, I think this page is a good representation of what the basics are. Thoughts? Questions at all? Other questions about other problems? Or anything else on your mind today? No one's really submitted many questions, but I'm happy to field some more if they popped up. Okay, so there are a bunch of homework due on Wednesday, as I've already mentioned, right? So, and tomorrow will be the last day to ask those questions with me in class. So you might want to at least take a look, just page through the 6 homework assignments and maybe see if there are any on there that confuse you. Keep in mind, too, as you're deciding at the end of the semester, I'm going to drop the lowest 3 homework assignments when I calculate your final grade. And so, if you skipped 3 or something, they'd just be dropped. Or if you do really well on these, I'll just drop your lowest ones. And so just keep that in mind, that whatever your homework average is, it'll get a little bit of a bump because I'll drop the lowest ones. Okay, if there aren't any questions, I'm going to sign off here. I'm going to at least stop recording and see if anyone wants to talk to me one-on-one. Feel free to stick around if you do. Otherwise, I'll talk to you tomorrow.